Hey guys, what's up? It's Alec Torelli. So I was supposed to leave today to head home to SoCal, but my wife and I stopped at the Wynn to get an amazing lunch. We love this place, and I put out a poll on my Instagram, and I was like, hey guys, should I stop and play an extra poker session? I walked by the game, I put my name on the list like I always do, just in case. You never know what's gonna happen in a poker room. And as I'm leaving Jardine for lunch, I get a text that says the game starts. So I look at my Instagram, and the poll says overwhelmingly, yes, come stop and play at the Wynn. So I'm like, all right, doing it for the fans. And so now I'm going to sit down at a 5, 10, 20 game. It's the big game running at the Wynn, and I'm going to buy a 5K. I got about an hour and a half before I really do have to go, and we're going to start playing. All right, so the first hand kicks off. The game just started. We're 5-handed, so we're actually only playing 10-20. VIP under the gun opens to 50. A guy that just sat down to his right makes it 150, and I'm on the button with 2 queens. Now, normally the book says this is a 4-bet, like just a standard re-raise, but my strategy is play in position with strong hands against bad players. I don't want to 4-bet and have the guy who 3-bet just fold and just win the pot. I want to call and let the VIP come in the pot, and if the board comes favorable for my hand, I can win a huge pot against him who's going to overplay his hand. So I call, VIP calls, we go 3 ways to flop. Flop comes king, 5, 4, rainbow, VIP checks, the re-raiser now puts in a bet of 240. I call with 2 queens, VIP folds. Turn comes an 8 of hearts, bringing 2 hearts, and now he goes ahead and bets 750. At this point, I want you to stop and think about the types of hands that he's representing here. What story is he telling? In my mind, he's really only betting 2 types of hands. He either has something like ace-king, aces, or a set of kings. Otherwise, he's probably bluffing. Yeah, maybe he 3-bet with 7-6 suited and turned to straight. Maybe he has pocket 8s and turned to set or something like that. But his range is either very strong hands or complete air. Now, of course, if you think about it, there's a lot more air than there are strong hands. So the question in my mind is, how is he capable of bluffing this turn? And second, what does my hand look like? When I call this flop, it kind of looks like I have 9s, 10s, jacks, or queens. And so I think he's likely to bet again here to force me to fold those hands. You add up all those things, and that's how I think about hand reading. So I call the turn here, and I think in this spot, he's less likely to bluff the river because my turn call looks pretty strong. The river comes in offsuit 8, which is a great card for me because it doesn't really improve a flush, doesn't make a 1-card straight, and it's also not a card he's likely to bluff. And so it makes my decision a lot easier on the river. He checks, which is great for me. I think he's waving the white flag. I check behind. He turns over ace-9 offsuit, and I'm off to a pretty damn good start. Now, if you like my approach, just this linear sort of breakdown in hands like these, head over to consciouspoker.com, CONSCIOUS poker.com. Download my hand reading system. It's totally free. I'll walk you through the exact blueprint I use in every hand I play. You'll also be subscribed to our newsletter where we send out weekly content on how to take your game to the next level. Again, it's all totally free. The very next hand, I'm literally still stacking my chips. The guy that just 3-bet and lost the pot makes it 50. I look down at 4s. I call. The VIP, the same guy from the hand before, calls, and the 3 of us again go 3 ways to the flop. Flop comes down absolute gin for me. Queen, 7, 4, rainbow. VIP checks. The guy who 3-bet and raised this hand bets 100, and I make a quick call. I try to make my hand look pretty weak. And I also want to let the VIP come in the pot, maybe trap him. Maybe he goes for something crazy aggressive and check raises. And I also think my hand looks pretty weak here when I flatten the flop. It looks like I have some 7, pocket 8s, pocket 9s, pocket 6s, pocket 5s, just some random trash hand. So my plan is to let this guy continue betting. We go heads up to the turn, and the turn comes a 10 of clubs, bringing 2 clubs. He now bets 400, and the way he bets, I mean, this is kind of where I think my edge is a lot in live poker, is I kind of have a good sense of like where people are at in a specific spot. The way he bet this turn, I'm super confident he has a strong hand. Normally in this spot, I'd probably just call again, make my hand look like a weak queen, queen jack or something like that, and keep his bluffs in the pot, allowing him to continue bluffing on the river. But I'm really sure he has something strong. So when he bets 400 on the turn, I make a quick jam. He has about 2,100 behind, so I go all in for 2,500 effective. And I want to make it look like I'm on a draw with something like a queen X of clubs or 6-5 of clubs, or just I'm up to something fishy. I also think in this spot, if he has a big hand like ace queen plus or kings or aces, it's very hard for him to fold. Yes, he's losing if I have a set, but he beats all of my semi bluffs, and I just didn't feel like he was in the mood to really fold. So he tanks for a while. He's going in the tank, and I'm just like trying to give off these reverse tells, trying to make it look like I'm weaker than I am. And he finally puts the chips in the middle. I'm like, yes, I know I have the best hand at this point. So he wants to run it twice. I'm like, fine, we run it twice. The first run out, the river is a 7. The second run out, the river is a 10. So I'm thinking there's no way that he can ever have me beat here because he tanks so long. When the board pairs on the turn, the board pairs on the river in both runouts, there's pretty much no way that made him a better hand. I flip over 4s, kind of like throwing, a couple dollars to the dealer to like, hey, I win this pot. He turns over queen 7 hearts. So somehow he had 2 pair, and somehow he's taking on the turn with 2 pair. Anyway, kind of frustrating to chop here because of course I frankly should have won, but super interesting hand, and can't win them all. All right, so literally 2 hands later, I'm in the straddle. Now we're playing 5, 10, 20, and I'm in the straddle to 20. Late position, the cutoff opens. This same guy, that I played all the hands with, calls in the $10 blind. I'm in the straddle with queen 9 of spades, and I call. We go 3 ways to the flop. Flop comes king 10 5 with 2 spades. Check, check, check. Turn comes a gin card for me, a jack of clubs, bringing another flush draw. So I have a straight, but I also have the redraw to the flush. The small blind bets out 100, and I want to raise here, and I want to make a big raise because if he has a pair and a straight draw, or a flush draw, or 2 pair, or a set, he's going to call any size raise. There's no reason to raise small here, and I want to put a lot of pressure on him and build a big pot in position. I make it 400, the button folds, or the original raiser folds, and he calls very quickly. So at this point, I think when he calls very quickly without considering a re-raise, he never has a straight, because a straight is going to tank longer on the turn and think about re-raising. This is the process I told you about in the PDF that's free to download called a hand range funnel, where you're thinking about the way he played the hand and you're narrowing down the types of hands he could have based on how he acts and the decisions he makes. So I know he doesn't have a straight. I also think he probably doesn't have 2 pair. Even though 2 pair is never going to 3-bet the turn, it's just going to always call. The speed with which he called, I felt like he has something like, maybe like king queen, like a pair and a straight draw, which he knows he has to call, but he's never going to raise, but it's not a very strong hand. Or maybe he has something like, queen jack with a pair and a straight draw, or some sort of like pair flush draw combo. Anyway, he calls. The river comes in offsuit 8, which is a great card for me. I basically still have the effective nuts. He checks, and at this point, I'm thinking, the pot's about 1,000. How much can I bet where he will call me with these weak type of 1 pair hands, or maybe 2 pair? I think if I overbet this river here and bet something like 1,500, maybe he calls with 2 pair, but he's never going to call with a 1 pair type hand. So I want him to make a hero call here, thinking that I missed a draw. So I'm thinking of a bet size that targets those weak types of hands that he has that could induce him to make a hero call, especially after, he did just lose a pot to me before and we got it all in the hand after. Maybe he's a little bit frustrated and he's going to be a little bit off of his game. So I bet 500 half pot, which I think is really enticing him to just kind of like flick in the chips and go for a call. He tanks for a while and ends up folding, and that's a wrap for this session. All right, before we get to the end and the results, leave your comment below and let me know which hand was your favorite. Also subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. A lot more content's coming. I will be on The Hustler in upcoming weeks as well, so be sure to stay tuned for that. As for the results, I did win a cool $497. It feels really sweet when you're not supposed to play and you win and it's a short session. So now I'm going home happier. Thanks for your guys' attention and support, and I'll see you in the next one.